recently I was reading a survey that said that 57% of people in Gen Z said that they would love to be influencers if they could, like if that was the career that was available to them. And I've been thinking a lot about this, you know, as somebody who would be considered a creator, an influencer, although I don't really love that word. I just don't know, people don't know what's actually on the other side of that experience. And I'm sure if you're a creator, you'll know what I'm talking about when I share what is actually going on physiologically that leads to burnout, but also higher levels of anxiety, higher levels of depression, higher levels of all these things. And I think whether you're a creator or not, you're prone to that just by having social media accounts and perusing social media relentlessly. And if you're a Gen Zer or someone who wants to become a creator, you aspire to that. I think it's just important to actually know the realities of that, not just the dream of it, you know, of driving some sweet car or reviewing products you love. I think that's great. I think everyone should do what they love. I think everyone should try to figure out how to monetize their purpose if they can. But I also think not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone wants to be. Some people, you know, I remember I had a friend years ago who said to me, like, I know you want to help change the world and have a big impact, and I just don't. I want to work so that I can pay for travel and see the world. And I'm like, that sounds great, right? Like, my dream is not everyone's dream. But I do want to give you the realities of our human physiology and how it interacts with social media, especially as a creator. And, you know, you're seeing a lot of the quitting of social platforms. And, you know, recently I left both Facebook and Instagram. And it's because of the way those things are set up. I don't think they're relational. I think that they're set up in a way to extract from creators, and they put you on an endless hamster wheel that you can't get off. Like, it's designed for you not to get off. Sorry, I have an itchy elbow. It's designed for you not to get off. It's designed to keep you on it. It's designed to keep you creating. So you think that you're leaving a 9-to-5 and getting this dream job, but you're actually getting into a job that's 24/7. You think that you're creating freedom, but to be honest, in a lot of ways, you're creating a much tighter prison. Now, granted, you know, there's obviously toxicity in corporate cultures and large organizations, especially ones that are exploitive of humanity and nature, etc. I think you really have to be mindful of how much work it actually is. And before you can afford to pay people to do things, you're going to have to develop some level of mastery to just start doing things yourself. Like, you're going to have to learn how to be a video editor. You're going to learn how to get lighting right. You're going to learn how to get a camera and what kind of camera. And obviously there are creators who teach all these things, and they're accessible. And this is a phone camera, and it's amazing compared to the first camera I ever used. And yet you still have to develop some sense of micro mastery in each of these aspects. And until you can figure out how to monetize whatever you do, you're going to be doing it on the side while you do something else. Again, all necessary parts of becoming an entrepreneur or following your dream. I get it. I've been in it. And there's also a very saturated market. The market is massively saturated with information. We are in an information overload time. And I'd also argue that from a nervous system perspective, we are really exhausted from all of the stimulus, from all of the information, from all of the digital connection that our bodies and our hearts recognize that this is not authentic connection. Like, yeah, it's amazing that I can talk to you on this phone and it can reach you in your life and it can impact you. You can have some sort of awareness or not, but that's incredible. And we still have to be mindful that there is a cost to every new technology. And the cost is that our brains and our nervous systems are not developed to adapt to this technology as fast as it's asking us to adapt. The development of social media platforms, which were massively dopamine rewarding and doom scrolling and swiping. I watched my son when we don't let him use technology. Every once in a while, he'll watch a video of himself on the phone or like him playing, maybe when we're changing him, and he knows to swipe. And I'm like, No one's taught them that, because there's a reward for the new novelty that's going to come with the swipe. Like, oh, another thing. So I say all that because the part that causes all these creators to quit and the burnout and all that kind of stuff, and likely causes you to have so much anxiety from using social platforms, is that your nervous system was not designed to be assessed, for you personally to be assessed 24 hours a day. So like historically, if you weren't actually talking and sitting in your tribe, in your people, you weren't being criticized, right? Like you couldn't say something wrong, you couldn't do something wrong. At least you knew the ideas and the political perspectives and all the social norms within your group. But then now, if you say or do the wrong thing, and it's from 2004 and it's now 2024, you can get in trouble for that. It's not normal. It's not normal that 24 hours a day you can be criticized, you can be hung, you can be canceled. All these things can happen to you while you're trying to sleep. So that's why putting yourself out there on social media in any capacity can be highly dysregulating, especially if you're sharing opinions and perspectives that can be controversial, which I encourage that you share perspectives that challenge norms. I think that's great, but you have to build the nervous system capacity and also have the recognition that this shit's not real, right? Like someone finding you who lives in fucking Wisconsin, who's mad about something you said in Europe, it's not reality. That wouldn't normally happen. But they could try to create a whole group of people to try to take you down because they're upset and you said something that dysregulated them. Like social media has created the perception that no one's allowed to say anything that causes you emotional dysregulation. You'd rather figure out how to mute the world than figure out how to process and self-regulate and be with opinions, thoughts, and feelings from other people that don't agree with you. And there's a lot, I think technology has really framed a lot of that for young people who are now getting older, Gen Zers, who have been exposed to this culture that doesn't reward or celebrate diverse thinking. It celebrates diversity of everything but thought, which is ironic and a whole other subject. But I say all this because if you're considering becoming a creator, it's important that you build the nervous system capacity to put yourself out there. And part of that is developed through putting yourself out there. But you have to learn how to depersonalize your content. You have to learn how to, and when I say depersonalize, you have to learn how to decouple the response to what you're creating from how you feel about yourself. It's actually in the act of creating that you're creating self-worth. And it is actually healing when we learn that the response to something we do is not correlated to our self-worth. It's a response to a behavior we have or an opinion we have. And even then, you can't take the advice or criticism from a random troll. They don't matter. As much as they might matter to some people because they're highly sensitive and easy to trigger, you have to learn. And I would say that it is one of the most powerful personal growth spaces to be on social media. And yet also learning how to be discerning and say, is this technology for me? If it is for me and I'm going to use it, then how am I going to use it? Can I be in choice? The algorithm says no, you have to post 3 times a day. You have to do dancey videos to music. You have to do this, you have to do that. That shit is endless. You have to figure out how to do it your way because the authenticity of what you create is more important than the production quality. If you're just doing what everyone else is doing, which there's thousands and millions of people doing that, you won't stand out. You have to stand out in the way that you're like, 0 Fs, let's fucking go, right? But give a shit about the right things, right? It's not about giving 0 fucks, it's about giving fucks about the right things. And the last thing I'll say is that whatever you're wanting to create, I definitely think go towards whatever you want to create. If you're feeling called to bring your dreams, your passions, your teachings to the world, this is not to say don't do that. This is just to say be mindful of what actually comes with doing that so you can be prepared. I want you to be able to do it in the way you want to do it. And YouTube is by far, YouTube and podcasting, I think, are the best places for self-expression because if I was to go all the way back to when I first started, I really only invested my time in creating on Instagram and Facebook. But eventually those algorithms changed so much, and I never got paid for my content. On YouTube, you get paid for your content. Even if it's a small amount, there's still an exchange for your creative time. And relationally, that's very important. So yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about 57% of Gen Zers wanting to become influencers? And 2, what has been the reality for you, if you're a creator, about the impact on your mental health, about what you perceived it was going to be like versus how it's actually been? Much love, everybody.